In 1937, the massive silhouette of the largest flying machine ever constructed finally breached the dark evening clouds. It represented the absolute peak of aviation engineering. Yet this floating monument would soon be reduced to burning wreckage in exactly 34 seconds. To understand how a collapse of this magnitude happens, you have to look at the sheer scale of the ship. At 804 feet long, the Hindenburg dwarfed the passenger airplanes of its day and rivaled the height of city skyscrapers. It was built to conquer the Atlantic, carrying passengers from Germany directly to the United States on a massive transatlantic route. The flawless track record of these German airships created a profound sense of security. Engineers and passengers alike trusted the design implicitly, entirely missing the cataclysmic flaw woven into the ship's framework. Inside, the ship resembled a high-end hotel rather than an aircraft. A ticket offered high society travelers an ocean crossing in absolute comfort. Guests spent their days in dining rooms and lounges, looking out through massive panoramic windows on the observation deck to watch the ocean roll by. Unlike the loud, vibrating, and heavily turbulent flights of early passenger airplanes, traveling on a Zeppelin was nearly silent and perfectly smooth. But keeping hundreds of thousands of pounds of metal, fabric, and luxury furniture suspended in the sky required a massive volume of lifting gas. With the U.S. restricting safe helium exports, designers filled these gigantic internal cells with hydrogen, a highly flammable gas. Passenger quarters were built directly into the ship's belly. Only a thin fabric and metal framework separated sleeping cabins from millions of cubic feet of explosive gas. Every meal eaten and every night slept on the Hindenburg took place inside a highly pressurized container, requiring only a microscopic ignition source to fail. On May 6, 1937, the Hindenburg arrived over the Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey, several hours behind schedule for its final landing approach. Heavy storm clouds had gathered over the airfield. The air was thick with rain, and the atmospheric conditions were highly unstable. Following routine procedure, the crew dropped heavy, rain-soaked mooring lines down to the ground crew. The moment those wet ropes touched the earth, they acted as a grounding wire for the airship's metal frame. The fabric hull remained insulated. Driven by stormy weather, massive electrical charge accumulated across the airship's skin. Deep inside the upper tail, a snapped bracing wire tore a tiny hole in a gas cell. Venting hydrogen flowed directly into the electrically charged air. This convergence of a stormy atmosphere, a grounded frame, and a silent gas leak set a trap. The conditions for total destruction were locked into place before anyone on the ground or in the air detected a problem. In a fraction of a second, the difference in electrical charge between hull and frame produced a single microscopic spark. It met the venting hydrogen. Flames erupted through the top of the tail. Because the massive internal gas cells were interconnected, the fire surged forward, devouring the ship from the inside out with terrifying velocity. The rear structure collapsed instantly, dropping the burning tail to the airfield, while the nose pointed violently upward, consumed by a rapidly expanding fireball. Below the wreckage, pure panic took hold. Ground crews sprinted toward the blazing metal skeleton, desperately trying to pull surviving passengers and crew members from the inferno. From the moment the first flame appeared to the second the colossal frame collapsed entirely into the dirt, exactly 34 seconds had passed. When the fires finally died down, investigators stepped into a smoldering field of twisted duralumin to figure out how the pride of the Zeppelin fleet had failed. After analyzing the debris and eyewitness accounts, experts settled on the static spark theory. A naturally occurring electrostatic discharge had ignited the leaking hydrogen, a conclusion that remains the internationally accepted explanation today. Because the explosion happened in front of dozens of cameras and reporters, the footage was broadcast around the world. The visceral horror of the images immediately destroyed public trust in lighter-than-air flight. Commercial airships were permanently grounded. Airlines immediately canceled future Zeppelin projects, pivoting all resources and development heavily toward winged passenger airplanes. Knowing the risks and the realities of hydrogen gas, knowing the reality of this historic tragedy, consider your own choice today. Share your final thoughts down below. The disaster in New Jersey claimed 36 lives, But in 34 seconds, it also grounded the flying giants forever.